Well, you may have noticed a new update while scrolling through your phone's privacy settings. It's called COVID exposure tracking. So what is it, and does that mean your phone is now tracking you? For a look at that, I'm joined by Alec Couros, a professor of information and communication technologies at the University of Regina. Thanks for taking the time to chat today, Alec.
Thanks for having me.
So how does something like this exposure logging work?
Well, the exposure logging in most systems, especially from the Apple and Google framework, typically works with the Bluetooth system. So your Bluetooth system is basically sending out beacons all the time. So if you've probably been in vehicles before where you want to use your Bluetooth in the audio system. So it's the same sort of thing. It's sending out a beacon to a particular device, and they're connecting with one another. And the way this works is basically, and this is probably the most private way of doing it, is the Bluetooth system. As you're walking through a shopping mall or grocery store, basically is sending out a beacon. It's doing the same. Every other phone that you're up against is doing the same thing, and those beacons are shared. So essentially, the app will keep track of all of the numbers, the beacons that you've been in contact to. And at some point, and with the federal app, this is what it looks like it's going to do. If you are exposed or you believe that you have the virus, essentially you can self-disclose, and then everyone who was in contact with you or your phone can actually get a notification. So instead of it just contact tracing, I think they're also calling it exposure notifications.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, when you start dealing with things like uploading health information to your phone, there's always concern around privacy or around security. So, do you think there is a concern around privacy with something like this, or should people be concerned?
Well, the privacy experts, and it depends which one you're looking at. So I know in Norway and Australia, they had particular apps that seemed to be a bit too invasive. They use GPS data in particular, so you know exactly where people have been specifically. Whereas with Bluetooth, it doesn't actually have any location data. So right there's a big difference in terms of how what information is being collected, where it's being collected. With a Bluetooth, you don't actually have to connect in or collect any data. So it's basically your phone just keeping track of other numbers that it exposes to, but you don't really disclose who owns that phone in any particular way. So it's one of the better ways, and it's certainly, there's been a number of privacy experts, including former federal privacy commissioners, who have come out and said the Apple-Google framework, the one that the federal government is using, seems to be quite good. It's about as good as you can possibly get in terms of a privacy perspective, but it's perhaps not as good in actually collecting data for contact tracing. So it gives you the bare minimum, but it's not optimal for actually doing what it's expected to do. It's better if you actually know where people are, specifically if you're looking at a particular breakout in any part of the community.
All right, so it gives a little on the actual accuracy, but you get that privacy aspect. It's interesting looking at your phone as something that could, track your health and even track your exposure to something like COVID-19. Do you think going forward, I mean, after the pandemic and as we see other advancements or other pandemics come up, this could be something we see more of in the future?
I think this is certainly a big part of it. In terms of health data, we're already giving a lot of health data information. If you have a fitness watch, or if you just have your heartbeat reader or some sort of thing. So we're giving away health data all the time. This is probably one of the least invasive ones. But in terms of contagion, when we're looking at the spread of a virus in the community, this type of contact tracing, this is something that's new. And for the foreseeable future, as we deal with this world of pandemics, this is something that is certainly here to stay. But at least in this case, the user has choice. The person has the choice to disclose, the choice to turn on the app, and that's better than some of the really more invasive systems that we've seen elsewhere.
All right, well, thanks so much for this today, Alec.
No problem. Thanks.